Welcome, Agile friends. My name is Vasco Duarte, and I'm your host for this keynote session with our amazing guest, Dave West. Hey, Dave, welcome to the summit.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Vasco. I'm very excited to be here at the summit.
So Dave is the transformative CEO of Scrum.org, a renowned keynote speaker, author, and an Agile methodology pioneer. He's also, and this is important for this specific keynote, the product owner for Scrum.org. Before we go and dive into the product owner and its future, the product owner role that is and its future, let me just tell you that there are other sessions in the summit that you may want to look at. For example, Jason Little asks how AI may transform the product owner role. So check that out. All of the sessions are at productownersummit.org. So check that out. But now let's focus on Dave West. Dave, could you share with us a little bit, just not the whole story, but a little bit of the history of the product owner role? Because I think it's really important to understand that role within the Scrum framework.
Vasco, I'll do my best. Obviously, there's many stories about Scrum because it's now reached that age where we can't actually remember the things that happened 30 years ago. But the story that Ken tells, that's the sort of pivotal change moment where he really believed that that there needs to be something else or somebody else in a Scrum team working on delivering value, was at the FBI Sentinel project. Prior to that, Scrum had been executed in many different contexts. Some product management contexts, some project management contexts, and every time there was sort of a level of tension. But at the FBI Sentinel project, it was a disaster. As you can imagine, huge government program where they were trying to centralize FBI record keeping. And Ken was brought in as an object-oriented software sort of leader with this new thing that he was doing called Scrum. It wasn't even probably known to the buyers as Scrum, but he came in and they had a real problem making decisions. They had a real problem delivering increments of value. And it wasn't an engineering practices problem. It wasn't the team's skill problem. It was primarily because they kept changing their minds. Requirements were poorly defined, changeable at the last minute. And people kept coming to the team and saying, no, you should be doing this. And so he basically said, if you want me to help you deliver this, you've got to do this. And the product owner role became a thing in Scrum. And basically, they anointed somebody that didn't run away from the meeting fast enough, I guess, to be that pivotal person to make all the decisions for the teams that were delivering this Sentinel product. And because of that, I mean, and many other things, they actually delivered it. Previous attempts had been a disaster. They actually delivered it. Now, I don't know how perfect it was. I don't know how amazingly successful, but it definitely delivered. And obviously, there's case studies about it. So obviously, it's sort of like this intersection of project management, product management, but it's something new. It's something different. Making decisions, deciding the priority of the work, defining what value is, inspiring the teams and bringing them all together, embodied in this one person. This often, if it was a startup, it would be an entrepreneurial CEO, right? That's kind of the characteristic that makes sense. Obviously, every context is different, but this driver of value is the characteristic that Ken created or encouraged at FBI Sentinel, and ultimately it resulted in the documentation in the Scrum Guide, books, training classes, and a whole industry around it.
In fact, it is, at least in the software industry, it is a role. People get hired for that role now, which I'm happy for, because very often, unfortunately, we have a little bit of bias towards project management in the PO role. Sometimes we have a bias towards product management in the PO role. It's important, therefore, for us to understand what are the critical aspects for organizations in this PO role. So you are a PO yourself as part of your assignment in Scrum.org. So what do you think makes this product owner role, as you described it just a minute ago, so critical for organizations trying to implement an agile way of working and Scrum specifically?
It is funny, I was recently on a call with a large large boutique consulting firm, if you can be such a thing. And they were like, oh no, Scrum's dead, but we really care about product ownership. I was like, well, hang on a minute. That was part of Scrum. Oh yeah, well, we accept the teams can deliver incremental, do continuous delivery. They can deliver value frequently. But the thing we're really focused on is this new emerging set of skills and competencies in this flatter organization. And so I leaned in a little bit and said, why? Why you all, why have you got your quadrants and your management consulting things around this? And they basically highlighted the impact of digital and the fact that digital has changed the landscape completely around decision making, around the use of data, around hypotheses, the ability to do experiments, the ability to rapidly define and implement value to customers and get that feedback cycle. And, they said, yeah, it's possible product managers can do this in software companies, ISVs, and the Facebooks and of the world, these software companies. But in most traditional organizations where technology is an enabler but not really a driver, we see the need to create this new capability that brings together business and technology in pursuit of value. And digital's changed the conversation. So it's really interesting to see what is happening with product ownership, whether it's a role, whether it's an accountability. I'm less bought into that because job descriptions are job descriptions, and I think they're very industrial in idea. However, the skills are necessary in this 21st century organization.
Yeah, and some of the skills that a product owner needs to bring is that ability to bridge what might be a traditional business model and how to transform that into something that technology can enable or even amplify, right? Because technology can be a great business model amplifier. And what do you think are some of the challenges that product owners that are maybe in that more traditional kind of environment face to be able to play that PO role and help technology improve the business?
I think that's exactly. So it's funny. Product when we go to a PSPO class, or when we visit, or when occasionally I get dropped in and cause chaos, I ask people, logically, where you're from, what you do, how you do it, and what we see is that there's product ownership, and the people in that class tend to be from sort of like 4 quadrants, as it were. On one dimension is the ownership idea, the empowerment, the ability to make decisions, the ability